Thanks, Sophie. You're watching South East Today. Our top story tonight. Scared of going out, the 75-year-old woman left with broken bones after being hit by an electric bike on the pavement.
I feel quite angry that this happened. These bikes, they shouldn't be ridden on the pavement.
Deeply grateful to AI, the woman from Sussex whose breast cancer was picked up by computer programme after she was given the all clear at her routine scan.
Clearly AI is more effective than sometimes the human eye. And it must be so difficult to look at endless mammograms.
The fight for the family centre, a demonstration in Kent today as councillors discuss possible closure. And she's one of Britain's top classical pianists and part of a dynasty of prodigious musical talent. We meet Isata Canna-Mason. Hello, welcome to the programme. I'm Ellie Crisell. A 75-year-old woman who was left with fractured ribs and a broken wrist after she was hit by an electric bike in Sussex says it's left her scared of going out. Christina Marchand was walking to the shops when she was hit on the pavement by a teenager. Her family are calling for tougher restrictions on e-bike use, and Sussex police are investigating the incident, as Chrissy Reedy reports.
75-year-old Christina was left with a broken wrist and multiple rib fractures after being struck by a teenager, she says, riding an e-bike at speed on a pavement in Brighton.
He did apologise, but he didn't stay around. That's been very painful. Couldn't lift myself out of bed, couldn't lift myself out of the bath, and the pain was horrendous.
Her family say the incident has left their mother shaken.
She's very depressed, she's frightened to go out, she's loves walking her dogs. Now she's frightened to even go and walk her dogs. She's walking them later on in the day.
How could he not see her? And from behind, she had no chance. No chance.
It was Saturday the 19th of October around 5:15. It's a very busy spot. Christina was coming back from the co-op, walking along this very wide pavement when she was struck from behind by a teenager riding a Brighton and Hove electric bike. And it's not just e-bikes. In Bexhill-on-Sea, 77-year-old Myra was hit by an e-scooter as she tried to cross the road. 91-year-old Jim Blackwood from Rochester was hit by an e-bike along the pavement as he took out his recycling. He ended up with a bleed on the brain and died in hospital several months later. While Sarah Carter suffered a broken wrist and fractured jaw in Canterbury when she was hit by an e-scooter, also on a pavement.
All sorts of accidents are ultimately preventable. We know from countries like the Netherlands and from countries like Denmark that good quality shared infrastructure for pedestrians, cyclists and drivers is the most effective way to keep people safe.
These bikes, they shouldn't be ridden on the pavement, and it's young children riding them. I feel that nothing's been done to stop them. They seem to have easy access to them. You see them lying around everywhere, these bikes, and they seem to be able to use them. It could have been a lot worse for me.
Christine is still in a lot of pain and says she's hoping anyone who saw what happened will go to the police with information.
Well, Chrissy is here with me in the studio. Chrissy, what are the police saying about this?
Well, Sussex Police are investigating and they're keen to hear from anyone who was maybe there, who witnessed the incident, saw what happened. Also anyone perhaps who has any moving footage, maybe doorbell footage, CCTV or mobile phone footage. They're very keen to hear from anyone who has information. They're also very keen to stress it is illegal to ride a bike or an e-bike on the pavement. It says that actually in the Highway Code. Now, Christina, as you heard there, has been left very shaken by this. She said to me yesterday she's in a lot of pain, and this is a woman who is fiercely independent, loves to go out walking her dogs, but as her children said to me yesterday as well, her daughter, she's scared to leave the house at the moment.
Chrissy, thank you. County councillors in East Sussex have been warned they could be facing a funding gap of £57 million in next year's budget. The council currently has a gap of £13 million, but expects this to grow by April. Ahead of a budget meeting next Wednesday, councillors say they may be forced to make significant cuts to local services. Southern Water have put forward multi-million-pound proposals to upgrade water and wastewater networks in Hastings. They say the plans, which will include building a new reservoir and installing 25 kilometres of new water main, will reduce the risk of flooding in the town centre and help prevent water shortages too. They'll be presented to Hastings Borough councillors on Monday. A woman from West Sussex says she's deeply grateful after an artificial intelligence programme found she had breast cancer, even though she'd been given the all clear after a routine scan. Sheila Tooth's mammogram was rescanned under an AI pilot project at the University Hospital Sussex NHS Trust, which found evidence of the disease. Almost 3 million women were invited for breast screening in the UK last year, with around 65% taking up the opportunity to attend an appointment. The screening programme detected cancer in almost 19,000 women. But doctors say artificial intelligence software can help them to spot very small early-stage cancers, and they can reduce the time patients wait for those scan results. Our health correspondent Mark Norman has more.
Sheila is one of more than 2 million women every year who go for a routine breast scan.
I was invited for a routine mammogram in January, and in February I got a letter to say that it was all clear.
But the scan that said it was all clear was one of 12,000 reviewed and rescanned by AI software. Sheila was asked to go back to the hospital, and very early stage cancer cells were confirmed, and she went on to have a small operation to remove them.
There's of course, a lot in the press about AI at the moment, isn't there? And a lot of scaremongering. But I thought it's just fantastic, really, because clearly AI is more effective than sometimes the human eye. And it must be so difficult to look at endless mammograms and actually pick up very small changes. So yes, I was very surprised in some ways about AI, but also very pleased.
These are called microcalcifications.
This is about spotting cancers as early as possible to give patients the best possible outcome. University Hospital Sussex, one of 15 trusts piloting AI in this way. Over a 2-month period, more than 12,000 mammograms were considered normal and then reviewed. The AI suggested just under 10% needed to be seen again by a clinical panel. 11 women were asked to come back for investigation, and 5 were found to have breast cancer.
In our centre, we had 9 of these cases, and to our surprise, 5 of them came back as positive for cancers, which two human readers didn't pick up on. So that was quite an interesting to see how we could utilize the additional software to work with us and potentially, as I said initially, increase the cancer detection rate.
The hospital trust now plans to take part in more national trials as part of the next phase of introducing AI into breast screening. Mark Norman, BBC South East Today, Brighton.
The former Gillingham chairman Paul Scally says he's been accused of intimidating staff by the football club's new owners, but is determined to clear his name. In an exclusive interview, he's vehemently denied doing anything wrong and says the situation is grossly unfair. The club has not made any allegations public and has refused to comment today. But speaking to our reporter Ian Palmer, Mr. Scally says he's now considering legal action.
I care about the club first.
His official association with Gillingham Football Club has come to an abrupt end. At home in Kent, former chairman Paul Scally told me it hurts to be no longer part of the club he ran for so many years.
Nearly 30 years I've been at the club, obviously. Virtually every day, always working 6-7 days a week, never stopped working really. And it was my life.
Despite selling his majority stake in the club 2 years ago, he continued as a non-executive director. But last month he was voted off the board. Now, he says, allegations have been made against him.
Some of the allegations are just bizarre. You know, talking about staff being uncomfortable when I'm in the building and intimidated, and it's just nonsense. I mean, I don't know a single member of staff that would ever say that in 30 years. I've never had a complaint against me in 30 years. It's supposed to be an investigation, but I don't know anything about the investigation.
So given that, I mean, how does that make you feel?
Well, pretty bad, obviously. I mean, it's grossly wrong, it's grossly unfair, it's grossly misleading.
The club has declined to comment, even on whether any allegations have been made. But at the time of last month's board meeting, it did say investigations are ongoing. All this comes nearly 30 years after Paul Scally famously bought Gillingham for £1, taking the side out of administration. He oversaw 5 seasons in the Championship, football's second tier. But since 2005, the club has played in the 3rd and 4th tiers. And in 2022, after a tough few years, he decided to sell.
When people came back from COVID, there was a real change in the dynamic of the crowd, not just at Gillingham, but in football generally. I mean, I heard it from a lot of chairmen, that people came back angry, they came back disenfranchised with things, and they wanted to take their anger out on someone. And there was definitely hate, and that hate was affecting me badly.
He did a deal with the American businessman Brad Gallinson, who bought a majority stake in Gillingham. He said Gallinson encouraged him to stay on, keep working for the club, but claims their relationship soured when he started asking questions about the lack of funding.
We can't go on a pre-season tour, we can't fix the hydrotherapy pool, we can't have a Christmas party, we can't pay for this, we can't, and it was all very... well, it's very confusing. I think I was confused, the staff were confused. And, I was asking questions and I wasn't getting any answers, really. I understand that Brad is a very wealthy man. He sold his business for 2.1 billion, he told me. He told me in 2 meetings he was a billionaire. I've no reason to doubt him.
A businessman, Paul Scally was in his late 30s taking a law degree when he bought the club. He soon had to give up the law and work at Gillingham full-time. Now he has to watch matches from home, but says the team still has a bright future.
When I walked into the club in '95, I came in as a 38-year-old, or I think what I was, 39-year-old. I loved it from that moment onwards. It was the hardest job I've ever done in my life, and I've worked on it every day for many, many years. And we built the stadium and we built a decent club. So now someone else has to take it to the next level. And I don't see why that level can't be Championship in a fairly short time. And maybe with the right investment, what's to say it couldn't go Premier League?
The Paul Scally era may be over, but he says he won't let his legacy and reputation be tarnished.
If this matter goes to court, I think fans and the public will understand just exactly what I've been going through now and how bad it's been and how badly I've been treated. But I'm just missing football. I miss the club, I miss the football, I miss the people.
It's hard to imagine Paul Scally giving up his ties to the club quite yet. Ian Palmer, BBC South East Today.
Sussex Police are investigating a serious collision involving 2 vehicles on the A259 in East Sussex. One of the vehicles caught fire following the crash near Hoo, and the road's been closed in both directions between Pevensey and Little Common. Plans to build a new dock in Rochester for tours of the River Medway have been approved by local councillors. The dock at Limehouse Wharf will enable a paddle steamer to operate in the summer between Rochester and Southend. Councillors hope it will boost tourism. Mother and baby groups, midwife appointments, adult education, parenting programmes and more. The Seashells Centre in Sheerness offers a wide variety of support services to the local community, and campaigners are now fighting to save it. A petition has been signed by more than 6,000 people, and there's been a demonstration outside County Hall in Maidstone today as Kent councillors discuss plans to close it to deal with a financial black hole. Leanne Rinney reports.
Save our seashells, support our families.
Parents, staff and politicians all protesting together to try and save services that support families living in the most deprived areas of Kent. More than 6,000 people signed a petition calling on Kent County Council to keep funding the Seashells Family Hub Centre in Sheerness. And today, the people behind the petition were given a rare opportunity to voice their concerns directly to councillors. It's the first petition debate to be held at Kent County Council in almost a decade.
Families are not just a number, they're real lives who are damaged and the funding is stopped. Speaking in front of all those people was very daunting, but it's more than just a children's centre. It is a family. I see them as family, and they're just so important to us. I fear, where do we go from there? What services can we actually access that we feel safe in?
Seashells isn't the only children's centre facing potential closure. Millmead in Margate has also been identified by Kent County Council, which says closing both sites could save them almost £500,000.
The contract with Seashells is for £214,000 a year, which is a lot of money. But what they want to do is bring the service in-house. So they want to employ staff to do what Seashells is doing. They want to use another building and pay rent on what Seashells provides as part of that contract.
The council say closing the two centres will provide much-needed efficiency savings, while they continue to pay for in-house services at family hubs across Swale and Thanet.
Kent's not alone in facing pressures on its budgets, which have grown up over the last 15 years. Rising population and a limit to the amount of income they get from central government or can raise from council tax. Add that together and you get these kind of decisions being put forward.
Kent County Council say all feedback, including the recent petition, is now being considered, and a final decision on closures will be made later this year. Leanne Rinney, BBC South East Today, Maidstone.
It's coming up to 10 to 7, a reminder of our top story tonight. A 75-year-old woman left with fractured ribs and a broken wrist after she was hit by an electric bike says it's left her very scared of going out. Christina Marchand's family are calling for tougher restrictions on e-bike use, and Sussex police are investigating. Also in tonight's programme, the classical star chosen to open this year's BBC Proms. We meet pianist Isata Kanna-Mason.
And it's been an overcast autumnal day today with more of the same in the forecast. I'll have the details for you a little later in the programme.
And if you have a story for us, we always love to hear from you. Do send us an email to southeasttoday@bbc.co.uk, or you can get in touch on WhatsApp now. You can use that number on the screen or just scan the QR code. Chart-topping DJ Fatboy Slim is joining forces with some of Brighton and Hove Albion's current and former players to lend star power to the club's charity. The Brighton and Hove Albion Foundation reaches around 20,000 people across Sussex every year. Spanish star Vicky Losada, England youth international Jack Hinchelwood and Norman Cook, aka Fatboy Slim, were among the ambassadors gathered together at the club's Lancing training ground this afternoon, and Charlie Rose was there too. Hello Charlie, having these big names on board really gives the foundation a boost, doesn't it?
Especially when the lineup is like a who's who of Albion legends past and present. Here today we had Jorginho Rutter, the club record £40 million signing, named as ambassador alongside Lionesses Fran Kirby and Nikita Paris. They have 144 England caps between them. Also here was Joel Veltman, Inigo Calderon and Guy Butters, and Ellie, one ardent Albion fan who was as pleased as punch to be named as ambassador.
Hi, I'm Vicky Losada, a Brighton player, and this is my second year as Brighton and Hove Albion ambassador for the foundation.
I'm Jack Hinchelwood. I'm a Brighton Hove Albion player and an ambassador for the Brighton Hove Albion Foundation.
A formidable lineup by anyone's reckoning.
Hi guys, it's Matt O'Reilly here. I'm a new player at Brighton and I'm also one of the new Brighton and Hove Albion Foundation ambassadors.
These Brighton stars have been recruited to a special team of community ambassadors.
The work that the foundation does for Brighton and Hove Albion is massive. Last year I spent a lot of moments with so many kids in school that need support, and you know, through football is fantastic.
Examples of the work carried out by the Brighton and Hove Albion Foundation include providing football tournaments throughout Sussex for players with a disability and helping dementia patients by bringing together fans and former players to chat and reminisce.
Good evening.
Well, not every member of the foundation is a player or former player. Tell me about your involvement with the foundation, Norman.
I'm a fan, first of all, and I've been involved in the club for a long, long time. We were shirt sponsors for 9 years, and over the years I've done various things with, originally with Albion in the community, now with the foundation, and I am now proudly an ambassador.
And these shirts have a very close link to you, don't they?
I'm not sure if you recognise this font here. I'm very honoured that they borrowed my font for the new logo. I think a nice bit of schmutter, this.
And I'm told half of the proceeds from each shirt sold goes to the charity.
I started my journey right from the beginning here at Brighton, and I know what it means to feel a part of the Brighton community, so yeah, I feel really proud to be a part of this community.
We've got a lot of spare time on our hands, in my opinion. Obviously, we're quite tired half the time, but at the same time, if you can spend your time doing something valuable, I think it's really important.
It's a proud moment for these players, whose ambitions seem to extend far beyond the football pitch. Well, Ellie, the Brighton and Hove Albion Foundation is attached to the club, but to all intents and purposes, it is independent. And what happens now is the 13 ambassadors will spend the rest of this football season drumming up support for the charity and highlighting the work it does throughout the communities all across Sussex.
Charlie, thank you. She's one of Britain's top classical musicians, in demand as a soloist in the world's leading concert halls. Pianist Isata Kanna-Mason is the eldest of 7 highly talented siblings who are all musical prodigies. 2 of her albums reached #1 in the UK classical charts, and her BBC Proms debut last year was met with such acclaim she was invited to open this year's festival in July with the BBC Symphony Orchestra. Oliver Whitfield-Miocic has been to meet Isata today ahead of her performance at the Brighton Dome later this month.
A modern musician shining a spotlight on classical female composers. Isata Kanna-Mason draws inspiration from Fanny Mendelssohn, so much so the 28-year-old featured in a film about the often overlooked sister of child prodigy Felix.
I'm sort of drawn into the music, and then I learn more about the composers and their lives. So I've definitely played quite a few female composers now. And I really look up to people like Clara Schumann and Fanny Mendelssohn and many other composers that I love as well. And they also played alongside composing. I think for me, playing will always come first, but if I can find time for composing, I definitely will.
Isata is also a sibling to famous brothers and sisters. The 7 Kanna-Masons rose to national fame almost a decade ago, appearing on Britain's Got Talent. And her younger brother Sheku enthralled global audiences with his virtuoso cello performance at the wedding of Prince Harry and the Duchess of Sussex.
For us, it was kind of many stepping stones along the way and many different kind of breakouts, or small breakouts or failures. I think it's been a journey. We've definitely become more busy. We've definitely had some breakthroughs, but it's felt more like steps rather than kind of one defining moment.
In just over 2 weeks' time, Isata will play to audiences in Brighton. So what can they expect to hear?
I'll be playing Beethoven's 4th Piano Concerto, and I'll be playing, I've played the concerto a few times. It's a piece that I really love, and so I guess they can expect a performance of Beethoven, hopefully an enjoyable one, and I hope that my love of the piece kind of shines through the performance.
From taking part in the BBC Young Musician competition to performing at the Proms and being last year's Artist in Residence with the Royal Philharmonic, Isata's passion for piano runs deep. And she hopes that even more young people will fall in love with classical music, just like her. Oliver Whitfield-Miocic, BBC South East Today.
What an incredible talent. Now, a Barbie-themed sports car lovingly restored and repainted in East Sussex is going on display at a classic car show in Birmingham this weekend. The 1967 Aston Martin DB6 was repaired and painted pink in a workshop in Berwick near Eastbourne after crashing during a rally in Mexico 2 years ago. The team spent several months renovating the vehicle and adding some extra Barbie pink pizzazz. Someone who likes Barbie pink pizzazz as much as I do is Rachel Mackley.
I do.
We haven't had much pizzazz in the weather, though, have we?
I know. The weather's been rather grey. We could have done with some of that pink pizzazz. Yes, of course, we have had the autumnal colours brightening things up a little bit, but for the most part, lots of cloud around, and for us today, some light patchy rain and drizzle as well. And you guessed it, over the next couple of days, well, we've got more of the same. We're starting in a misty, murky and foggy start to the day, and by the afternoon, a lot of this low cloud around. Potentially for tomorrow, a bit more brightness, and maybe perhaps for Saturday afternoon, but we should at least be staying dry until we get into the new week. So as we head through the first part of this evening, as you can see, not much happening behind me. High pressure still firmly in control of things. And as we head into tonight, lots of low cloud around. We've still got these southeasterly breezes. They're picking up a little bit, so perhaps not quite as much mist and fog as last night. But even so, we should be expecting to see some of it. It's a relatively mild night. Overnight temperatures dropping there to around 7 or 8 degrees. And normally at this time of year, we'd be expecting temperatures between 2 and 6. So it is going to be milder as we start the day for Friday. Lots of low cloud around, and any mist and fog will be slow to clear. High pressure builds back in again. Those winds ease off. By the afternoon, we're chasing cloud around a little bit here, but fingers crossed, you might even see a little bit of brightness, and temperatures once again similar to today. You've got highs there of around 11 or 12 degrees, and that's relatively mild for the time of year. But of course, with that thick cloud, it's not feeling particularly pleasant. And then more of the same. Spot the difference as we head through tomorrow evening. Lots of cloud around. We're staying dry. Overnight temperatures, once again, relatively mild for the time of year, only dropping there to around 8 and in some places 9 degrees. Again, there's mist, there's fog. It's a cloudy picture as you head through the day. For Saturday, we're staying dry. You might see the odd glimmer of brightness. A bit of a change as we look towards Remembrance Sunday. There are going to be some weather fronts. We should be staying dry. As we look towards Monday, fingers crossed, we start to see some sunshine around, and temperatures over the next couple of days pretty decent over the weekend. Highs there of around 14.
Not very pizzazzy, but okay for bonfire nights, isn't it,
yes.
Steph? Okay, great. Thank you, Rachel. That is it. I'm back at 10:30. Bye-bye for now.